we are at the entrance to Brixton Prison, the main entrance. This is the main gate. This is where prisoners enter and leave under escort when they're remanded in custody here, or at the present moment in time serve a sentence here. So this is the main gate. Welcome to HMP Brixton. Brixton Prison was part of the penitentiary system that was created in the 19th century. It was created purely for the poor and the disobedient working classes who were given a straight life choice in those days, the factory or an institution like this. If we actually look at the top landing here, that is the wing that I was on in 1982, and here I am back 40 years later looking upon it again, and it certainly invokes some quite unpleasant memories. This actual part here was at once part of the prison. This was our exercise yard. We were only allowed to leave our cells for 1 hour a day, and this is where we exercised. At the moment, there's obviously a total lockdown in this institution because of the coronavirus. So there are men in these cells now spending 23.5 hours a day in these cage boxes. And as you can see by the windows, very little natural light actually enters those cages. They're treated no better than animals. All of the people in here virtually are here as victims of an unequal economic and social system, okay? They're desperately poor. And some of them spend years in these conditions, being dehumanised and brutalised, and then are released back into the community and inevitably re-offend again. So if there is a relationship between public protection and prisons, it's very, very much an inverse one. Because what these institutions do is manufacture and create angry, violent young men. There are no rich, wealthy bankers and corrupt businessmen in this place. These are petty offenders, poor, marginalised, disproportionately ethnic minority. This is what these institutions are used for. In terms of how we actually deal with the issue of prisons and imprisonment, there have traditionally been two ways. One has been prison reform, the other has been prison abolition. Prison reform is actually responsible for the creation of these institutions. They were considered a far more reformist, progressive alternative to sheer physical brutality or deportation, which is what happened to working class offenders during the Victorian times. So these very institutions that we look at are a product of prison reform. Prisoners' reform achieved nothing but the legitimisation of the prison system, and in fact strengthen the prison system, because they create the illusion and the lie that prisons are capable of progressive humanitarian change in the form of rehabilitation. How are people to be rehabilitated in dehumanising institutions like this? We have to change society fundamentally in order to remove the need for prisons as far as the state is concerned. And only when we radically transform society and the nature of the state can we then radically abolish prisons. But that is the only solution to prison repression, not superficial reform of the system that creates a veneer of respectability for inhumane, brutal institutions like this. How do we reform institutions like this? They're irreformable.